Guardians of the Galaxy game. This game was such an underrated gem, and I'm pretty sure like 80% of the gaming community just hasn't touched this game at all. But if you see it free on like Epic Games, I think they already did it actually. I think it's on Game Pass too. I really recommend trying it out. This game came out in 2021 of October, and before I remember seeing this game announced at E3. And if you guys don't know what E3 is, because it hasn't been down for a couple years, it was basically like a bunch of companies, gaming companies coming together to show off new games. Like Ubisoft, EA would have their own days, and like Xbox, Bethesda, Now Xbox just does their own like showcase stuff. But I remember when this game came out, and I was watching it on Twitch, and the whole chat when it came, like when they first showed off gameplay, the whole chat was screaming, "Oh, flop, garbage, looks like trash, it's not gonna go anywhere, And I was convinced because it was by the same people who made the Avengers game, and the Avengers game was kind of shit, not gonna lie. And I remember I played it myself too, and I just didn't like the Avengers game. It tried to fumble a lot of characters with their own narrative, but more got to shine than others. Troy Baker, who voices Hulk, is just depressed the entire time, and I like that narrative for Hulk because it's cool to see this big strong guy be so vulnerable and actually like have these human characteristics, but it's like he just doesn't get over it. Even by the end, he just seems like he doesn't want to do this shit anymore. The gameplay was kind of mid, but when this game came out, I didn't have hope for it either. I thought that it was gonna flop and there was nothing going on. But then I came to Game Pass, and I played this game on the Series X, and this game is definitely one of the most underrated games like in history, in this past century, 100%. Dude, this game had so much good stuff. First off, the first thing that blew my mind was the graphics. The textures on like Star-Lord's jacket when you first load up the game was like proper. I was like, okay, this game already looks good. Fucking good impressions. And then it started off, and you guys like weren't even a full crew yet. It was like you guys were just doing the first mission together with like Rocket and Groot, and I thought that was kind of cool. And like Gamora and Drax wasn't even introduced until later on in the game, but the animation, the puzzles that they had, the combat was surprisingly so much fun. And I liked it because with the Avengers, they try to fumble around with characters, but in this game, you just play as Star-Lord, and that I like. You get to focus on one character and have him be the protagonist, not 5 people try to be the protagonist. It's a shame that no one got to try out this game. The first thing I want to go over with this game is the gameplay. The gameplay was very, very smooth. I found that the gunplay and the actual fights were very entertaining. I liked how you had team up abilities with all the other 4 members, and they were all unique, and they actually did certain things. So it would like depend on the type of enemy you're fighting. You gotta like, oh, I'm doing this team up with Drax, and it was a simple animation and whatever, but I don't know, it felt so satisfying. And then when the gunplay stopped, you had these puzzle moments similar to like God of War, and those moments actually like too. There was a lot of puzzles where I was like, oh yeah, I've never seen that before. Like they got really creative for the puzzles and everything. And then later on, I think about halfway through the point, you have like an ultimate ability, and your group like comes together, and then you decide like what type of ability you want to do, and then it goes like into first person. Like it's so cool. Like it's so hype. They got really creative with that, and I really liked how it wasn't just, okay, we're gonna make a Guardians of the Galaxy game, and it's just gonna be Star-Lord shooting around, Like, no, you can tell that they actually put a lot of effort into the gameplay, and they just didn't want to half-ass it. But a lot of it was gun puzzle, and then like little story. Another thing that really surprised me about the game was dialogue options. It got to a point where I think in the first chapter, you interact with Rocket before you go on, and you're given a dialogue option. And I was like, oh, no way. And then at the end of the mission, you can either like take this llama or like illegal weapons. And I didn't know, but when you actually decide and pick, it mattered on the ending. So all the choices that you made actually produced a different ending. And it's not like Telltale or like Detroit Become Human level where it's like, oh, you gotta do this or you have the worst ending ever. It's kind of just like more like preference, which I like. And depending on what you choose, there's actual like consequences with it where you gotta deal with later on in the story, which I wasn't expecting at all. I thought it was just gonna be like a story, gun, puzzle, keep going. Like I didn't expect all this dialogue stuff to come in. All right, and now the story. The story, I remember, I haven't played this game in a couple of years, I'm not gonna lie, but the story was pretty damn solid. I remember the story. I remember playing it, and I was intrigued, but I was like, I don't know where this is gonna go. And as it went on, it was a very, very unique story. I didn't feel like a Marvel movie. I felt like a solid space adventure with like actual stakes, and you can tell these group of misfits are like actual misfits, and they're all trying to run away from something. And by the end, they naturally, not like forcibly in any way, but they naturally come together as a team and actually become a whole team. The writing was pretty solid. The jokes were pretty solid too. There was pretty funny jokes as well.
Bastard is kind, fearless in a firefight, an awesome best friend. Rocket, bona fide super genius and a wizard with explosives. Definitely not a raccoon. Gamora, adopted daughter of Thanos, deadliest woman in the galaxy. Need we say more? Drax the Destroyer, convicted serial murderer and galactic war hero, often grumpy. Last and definitely least, Peter Jason Quill.
That's it? That's all you wrote? There was a character limitation.
The ending was I don't want to spoil anything just in case like anyone watching this does decide to play it after seeing this, but the ending had me like, whoa. There's a big twist at the end where I was not expecting at all. Like, all I'm gonna say is you think the game ends and then it doesn't. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. But the story was pretty solid. It only strife with it is there wasn't any endgame content. I remember I beat it, and the only endgame content was to replay and go for collectibles and outfits that you didn't get. And I think if you got all the outfits, you got like another one after. But it's like, why would I go back for these outfits just to redo the story I already know? Especially like right after. Like it maybe would have been better if I came back to it after like a couple of years, but I don't know. I remember the story because it was so good. So me replaying it is kind of just like kicking a dead horse. But yeah, no, the story was very, very solid. Just a little bit short, and there was no endgame content, unfortunately. But like that's what I was saying. Like I feel like they were just trying to play this game safe, and they didn't want to have it to be a complete flop. But it was kind of already set up to be a flop because of the previous game. And I find it just a shame that not a lot of people play this game. And especially when it came out, I saw the advertisements for it like all over YouTube and everything, but no one touched it. I didn't see any videos on it. I saw no one talking about it on Instagram or Reddit. Like, I don't know. It was just very quiet. And I believe it's a lot of to do with the previous game that really fucked up the reputation for this game. And I imagine people didn't even want to begin to try it out because of the disaster that it was before. So it's like, why would I drop $80 for a game that is going to be the same game that's shit because it's by the same developer? So it's a shame that when they advertised it, they mostly advertised the cutscenes and not like what you actually do. Because people genuinely thought it was going to be like Avengers where you swap between everyone. And then when I played it and you were only playing at Star-Lord, I liked it way better. It kept it more simple as like, these are your abilities. You're going to stick like this. You got your sub abilities that you can pick and choose. It wasn't like, okay, this segment, you got to play as Gamora and she has a whole different fucking combo system. Like it would have been stupid if it was like that. I like how they stuck with Star-Lord. But yeah, the story was very solid. It's just a shame that no one got to really experience it, man. Another thing that surprised me about this game too was outfits. I didn't know they would have so many different outfits or even outfits in general. I was just expecting just the base costumes, because when this game came out or when I played it, I was expecting they were kind of playing it safe with how the Avengers game went, so they didn't want to go too crazy, but it's nowhere near what the Avengers games was. Like the skins in that game is just a money grab, garbage skins. There's maybe like one or two skins that are solid, but in this game it's free, and like you go around and you collect the outfits. And there were some pretty cool ones that I was surprised about. The only thing that I didn't really like about the gameplay was there was like collectibles, and it was kind of just like pointless collectibles. I didn't really go for them at all. I only just went for the outfits. But there was a lot of cool like backstory. They introduced some characters that I didn't expect for them to introduce, like Mantis, for example. She had a pretty cool part, and she plays. And that's another thing as well. They all interact and talk so differently from the movies. It felt like such a good, well, not in a bad way because the movies are good, but it felt like a good fresh air because I was expecting for it to be a carbon copy. But then they start talking to each other and start interacting with each other, and they are different characters. Like they literally feel like they're from a different multiverse. And I found that really, really cool. I'm glad they didn't just copy and paste over Chris Pratt over into Star-Lord. Like they actually told him, give him a whole different backstory compared to that, and well, not like a whole different, but in a different way. But no, it was the gameplay was pretty fun. Even like it was very engaging. There was like the whole beginning cutscene when you play as young Quill. Like that's a lot of fun as well. And yeah, overall, I think the gameplay was pretty solid. I can't really complain too much about the gameplay. Okay, last little segment here before I continue on, but I just wanted to say, no glitches. I don't remember any glitches at all. I didn't play it at launch, though. That's a thing. It only came into Game Pass, I believe, 3 or 4 months after the release date. So it was in 2022. But when I played it, nothing. I wasn't getting clipped in the walls. I wasn't getting stuck and having to restart the game. There wasn't any dialogue that got cut off and that the audio was weird or whatever. It was solid. That you can't say a lot of games do that nowadays in 2025. Borderlands. But the setting was to every single map that I played, or a level, sorry, that I played during it. Solid setting. Just the atmosphere was nice. It didn't look boring. I like to look around. There's one segment, I think it was chapter 3 or 4, but you go to one spot and you do like this whole plan with Groot, and you pretend to capture him and sell him for money and then break him out afterwards. And there's a whole bridge you go across to the place that you're selling him, and it's gorgeous. The lighting is like amazing. And I love how they scale the camera to the actual castle, like they back it all the way up, and it just looks awesome. So that was a really good part that they did as well. They did a good job on the setting, no glitches, atmosphere was solid. If you're really bored and you don't want to play anything and you're tired of freaking Marvels or COD, I recommend that as a good story game that you could sit down and just have a good time with. I don't remember it being too hard as well, but enough challenge to be like, okay, you can't just sit there and shoot everything. Like you still have to move and like dodge and stuff like that. But it wasn't like Dark Souls level hard. But it was still pretty solid difficulty. Okay, as I was recording this, I was thinking, I feel like it'd be fun to see what other people thought around the time. So I wanted to go online and I wanted to see before launch what people were saying and after launch what people were saying. I feel like it'd be kind of interesting if what I'm thinking was correct, because based off my experience, it literally at the time no one wanted to touch this game with the fucking 10-foot stick. No one. So we're gonna check that out right now. Okay, I found this Reddit post here from 4 years ago talking about it, and some people, I'm surprised that they were kind of mixed. You have some people saying here, got tired very quickly for me. Combat isn't running in circles holding one button. See, it's like what this person said right here as well. It's your choice to make the combat fun. Yeah, you can just hold down the trigger, and the thing with the combat is like with the trigger is like you kind of auto lock. I'm not sure how it works on PC. I'm not sure if it's different, but with console, it auto locked onto the target for you, and then you just held down the trigger, and then when you want to do an attack, you would hold like I think like left bumper, then B depending, or AX depending on who you want to team it up with. But it's like he's saying, yeah, I see how it can get boring, but that's your choice. You found, hey, this works, so I'm only going to use this, where that's your problem. I don't think the combat is necessarily boring. It's because you're not allowing it to be fun. That's the part where it's like, I don't know. Exactly. If you made it boring, it sounds like a you problem. Literally, there you go. But then this person's saying agreed and went 6 chapters too long. I found it was too short. I wanted to keep going. So I'm guessing like some people have some different opinions about that, but I thought it was too short. Like I wanted to keep going after, because I don't even know how many chapters it was. How much was it? 15. So he wanted the game to end halfway through. The story dragged on. I see. I don't get that, man. I don't get how it dragged on. That I don't think. Ah, see, I was right. I skipped that launch because the vendor game was being lackluster. Exactly. Everyone thought this. I was even the ones who thought that as well. I thought it was going to be the same bullshit, just with a Guardians of the Galaxy name on it. I really didn't think it would be Star-Lord that was as like the solo person you're playing as. I really thought you were going to be playing as all 5 of them, and it was going to be like a jumbled mix. Jesus Christ. Everyone's saying like the same thing about the Avengers game. That's crazy how it corrupted up like a name that bad. They saw Marvel game was being made by Square Enix. They're like, yeah, I'm not even fucking touching that. That's funny though. How like everyone universally kind of thought the same thing. Because dude, at the time it was like it was $80 Canadian. I live in Canada, but like that's a lot, especially for a game that you're not really showing off. And like I said before, with the advertisements, they only showed off the cutscenes and whatnot. Like, dude, you gotta show off how it's different. You can't just half-ass the marketing and be like, oh, no one bought our game. Yeah, it's not gonna get a sequel. That's another problem about it too. It didn't make enough sales. I feel like though, if they did like now and they saw all like this criticism, and that's what I'm hoping this video does, is bring this game to light so we can get a goddamn sequel, because there's potential. They left it off where the galaxy is so vast where there is potential for a sequel, but I don't think we're gonna get it anytime soon, because Square Enix, I think, was kicked off the market for Marvel. It's funny how someone said I'm banking on this dropping on Game Pass. And it literally did. Within like a couple months, it made such little sales and went on Game Pass within a couple months. Like, dude, I don't think this game's getting a sequel. It really does suck, because you can tell they actually put time and effort into this type of game, and it just didn't do the numbers. I'm telling you, it was marketing. It was the same thing with Transformers 1. Beyond, like, one of my favorite movies of all time. It doesn't play out like any other movie, and it has its own character, but they didn't market the game, the movie, at all. And it's not going to get a sequel. And I think I read something that they hired the director of that movie to do a live action Transformers, which is nice. Like, you're not wasting his talents, but dude, that movie is so good, and no one saw it because they thought it was a shitty, just cartoon Transformers movie. But no, it's so much more than that. It was actually so good. I really thought I wouldn't like it because of Chris Hemsworth's performance. But as he goes on with the movie, it actually like sounds like Optimus Prime at the end. It's been no way it dropped down that much before it went to Game Pass. That's fucking crazy. Well, alright, this wraps up the Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess, overview, I would call it. I don't really want to call it a review because I wasn't really reviewing it, but this game was so good, man. I really wish it got more light. It's the same thing with, like, a lot of games have this, where, like, it's the same thing with Titanfall. Like, it was so good, but then it got outclassed by, I think it was Black Ops 3 at the time, and it dropped within like one of the worst months when every other game was coming out, so it made no sales. And then Respawn was like, well, it's a garbage game, no one bought it, so I guess we're never gonna make a sequel for that game. Like, it kind of sucks. And honestly, I do blame a lot of this game's flop due obviously to the Avengers, but also the marketing. Like, they should have just been straight up and done like a whole game view on it, kind of like how they do it with like Dying Light, where they show off the gameplay, new features before the game comes out, and they have like the whole like talk. They should have done that with this game. If we would have known, hey, you're only playing as Star-Lord, you're going in, you're getting your crew together, and there's like a whole da-da-da, like, if they explained it, I feel like a lot of more people would have bought this game. And it's because it is partially the consumer's fault as well, because we just assumed it would be like the Avengers game because it was made by the same developer. So it's like, oh, they don't know anything different. So it's a shame that this game didn't make like a shit ton of sales and stuff like that. I really wish it did, because I really want a sequel for this game, man. Like, it's so good, and you can tell the voice actors had such a good time recording this stuff too. It's just, it really sucks. It really does. I really hope that more people try this game out and they see that a lot of players are getting back into it, and they eventually do it, but I don't think that's even a possibility anymore with the other, I forget who's making the 1948 one with Captain America and Black Panther, but I think that's a different studio too. Like, I don't think they're even going with Square Enix. They're getting like their own dev studios for those Marvel games after those games flopped. So we're probably not getting a sequel, but I really recommend trying out the game. It is a very, very solid game. It's a good time. You'll have good laughs, some good character moments. And with that said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.